The sun hung high over a suburban street, painting the backyard of the Harper family's home in golden light. Lawn chairs were scattered around, kids shrieked with delight, and the grill hissed with burgers. 10-year-old Ethan Harper, his face speckled with freckles and oversized goggles perched on his nose, bobbed in the pool with a blue floaty clinging to his arms. He wasn't a strong swimmer, but the water was his playground. His dad, Daniel Harper, a former electrician now stay-at-home dad, flipped patties with a grin, keeping one eye on Ethan. His wife, Laura, snapped photos from the patio, humming softly, lost in the moment. It was the kind of Saturday that felt like it could last forever. Until it didn't. A black SUV screeched to a stop outside the gate, its tinted windows gleaming like a predator's eyes. Two men stepped out, dressed in black polos and tactical vests stamped with HOA. No names, no IDs, just authority dripping from their postures. The taller one, with a buzz cut and a stare that could freeze blood, barked, "This pool's open without regulation signage. That's a violation." His partner, stocky with a crooked nose, chewed gum like he was counting down to chaos. Daniel slung a towel over his shoulder and approached, his voice calm but edged. "Who are you guys? Our HOA doesn't have rules like that." "We're the Homeowners Association Compliance Task Force," Buzzcut snapped, flashing a badge too quick to read. "Your pool's a hazard. Article 9, subsection 12. We're shutting it down." Daniel's laugh was dry, humorless. "Show me the rule. Who authorized you?" The stocky one, crooked nose, started unrolling yellow tape, ignoring him. Laura stepped forward, arms crossed, her voice sharp. "We've got every document. There's no such regulation." Buzzcut's eyes narrowed. "Ma'am, stand back. You're interfering." Daniel's patience snapped. "My kid's in that pool." But Buzzcut shoved past, his boots pounding the grass. Without warning, he lunged into the water, grabbing Ethan by the neck. The floaty slipped. Ethan's head went under. "What are you doing?" Laura screamed, her voice splitting the air. Buzzcut growled. "He's resisting." Daniel charged, grabbing Buzzcut's vest, but Crooked Nose slammed him to the concrete, blood pooling under his temple. Neighbors gasped, phones out, filming. "Stop! He's a kid!" someone shouted over the fence. 30 seconds. Ethan's small body was still underwater, bubbles fading. Laura dove in, fully clothed, clawing at Buzzcut's arm, screaming, begging. When he finally let go, Ethan floated limp. Laura dragged him to the edge, her hands shaking as she started CPR. Daniel crawled over, dazed, whispering, "Come on, buddy." A cough. A sputter. Ethan gasped, vomited pool water, and sobbed. Sirens wailed in the distance. The fake cops bolted for the SUV, but neighbors blocked the gate. A burly man who mowed lawns grabbed Buzzcut's wrist. "You're not going anywhere," he snarled. Police swarmed in, cuffs clicking as neighbors shoved phones in their faces, videos rolling. "They almost killed my boy!" Daniel roared, still trembling. The men weren't cops, weren't even HOA staff, just con artists in costumes, playing power games. At the hospital, a doctor told Laura, 10 more seconds and... She cut him off, her face stone. That night she didn't sleep. She didn't cry. She sat at the kitchen table, laptop glowing, surrounded by HOA handbooks, highlighters, and court case PDFs. Her fingers danced with rage and caffeine. Ethan slept upstairs, terrified of water, flinching at strangers. Daniel paced, guilt gnawing at him hadn't protected his son. But Laura? She was changing. A decade ago, before motherhood, she'd been a CIVYL litigation attorney, a shark in the courtroom. She'd quit after a rough pregnancy, burying that fire for peace. Now, it was back, and it was hungry. This wasn't about a pool. It was about two men faking authority, nearly murdering her child in broad daylight, while neighbors watched. If the DA thought she'd wait quietly, he was dead wrong. 4 days later, Laura stormed into the county courthouse, her blazer faintly smelling of chlorine. She didn't book an appointment or wait in line. She marched into Assistant DA Tom Carver's office, a man with a too-wide tie and lukewarm coffee. "Upgrade the charges," she said, voice like a blade. He blinked. "Mrs. Harper, we're attempted manslaughter, endangering a minor, assault, impersonating an officer. Minimum." Carver sighed. "We're verifying who they are. One's ex-military, dishonorable discharge. The other's a contractor. We need time." Laura slammed a folder on his desk. "You have until Friday, or I go public." She didn't bluff. By Thursday, she was on podcasts, radio, and a local news Zoom, showing Ethan's neck bruises, playing audio from the scene, reading the ER doctor's warning. "They drowned my son," she said, staring into the camera, "and called it compliance." The story exploded. Fake HOA cops trended. On Friday, the county charged attempted murder. The men were denied bail. That night, Daniel brought Laura tea. "How do you do it?" he whispered. Her eyes were hollow but fierce. "I was nice for 10 years, Daniel. I smiled at meetings, waved at neighbors. Nice doesn't win. Teeth do." She added 3 more names to her lawsuit. The HOA board had approved those vests. It started with a knock, not at the Harpers but at the pristine home of HOA President Gerald Vance, a retired pharmacist with a slick smile and a new Porsche. At 6:43 a.m., police banged on his door, warrant in hand. Leaked footage showed Gerald in his robe, yelling about misunderstandings, as agents hauled out EVY Denke boxes. The HOA wasn't just negligent, they'd funded the imposters. Laura had suspected it, but the proof came fast. Buzzcut, the ex-soldier with a Fallujah rap sheet, cracked in interrogation. He'd been hired through Vance's off-the-books enforcement gig, paid to intimidate residents. The HOA called them compliance specialists. The truth? Vigilantes. Vance had given them badges, targets. Ethan. 3 other families came forward. A woman threatened for housing her sick mother, a teen's basketball hoop torn down while fake officers screamed. Laura stood on the courthouse steps, affidavit VYTS in hand. "This isn't a rogue unit. It's the system they built." The story went national. Fox, CNN, daytime TV. Ethan, clutching a stuffed shark, sat quietly as Laura became that mom. A Vietnam vet neighbor bolted a "No fake cops" sign to the community board. A petition to dissolve the HOA hit 10,000 signatures in days. One Tuesday, Daniel walked Ethan to the mailbox. Ethan whispered, "Dad, am I still brave?" Daniel knelt, hands on his son's shoulders. "Braver than me, kid." He meant it. Laura was rewriting laws, Ethan was finding his voice, and their quiet street was rising up. They weren't VY-TIMS, they were a movement. Laura's class action lawsuit got the green light, targeting Vance, the board, even the company printing fake IDs. She printed 86 subpoenas, just the start. 4 weeks felt like years. Daniel, once a soft-spoken fixer, testified with a fury that silenced the room. Ethan drew empty pools under distant suns, healing slowly with a counselor. Laura? She was a legend in legal circles, not for polish but for relentlessness. She didn't just want justice, she wanted HOA bosses nationwide to choke on accountability. On courtroom day 17, Judge Clara Holt, a no-nonsense woman with a stare that could unravel lies, presided. Vance took the stand, thinner, less smug, his suit hanging loose. "I never meant harm," he stammered, blinking too fast. Laura let the silence stretch, then approached, heels clicking. "Mr. Vance, is this your signature on the supplemental HOA enforcement protocol?" He nodded. "You authorized payments to unvetted contractors for on-site intervention, correct?" Another nod. "Did you check their backgrounds? No one was investigated for excessive force in Iraq?" Vance's lawyer objected. Holt overruled. "I heard rumors," Vance mumbled. Laura snapped her binder shut, making him flinch. "The record will show Gerald Vance knowingly hired unregulated thugs to assault residents, including my son, nearly drowned by a man with no badge, no remorse." The gallery buzzed. Outside, signs read, "No more fake cops." By week's end, 120 HOAs suspended enforcement. Vance was con vy Ted conspiracy, endangerment, aiding impersonation. Buzzcut and Crooked Nose got 27 years, no parole. Holt called their acts a grotesque betrayal. Laura didn't cry, she nodded to Daniel and Ethan. This wasn't revenge, it was precedent. Ethan's case birthed the Community Authority Reform Act, banning HOA private security in 3 states. 6 months later, the Harper's pool stayed drained, a padlocked fence around it. A stone bench bore Ethan's words. "Brave is when you're scared, but do it anyway." Daniel built ramps for vets, quietly proud. Ethan, now 11, spoke at school about subpoenas, making teachers tear up. Laura founded the True Compliance Network, tackling 27 HOA cases nationwide. Her article, "The Suburban Tyranny," went viral, cited in Congress. One Sunday, a 76-year-old named Edith brought Laura a file, trembling. "They're fining me for a birdbath. I'm scared." Laura smiled. "You just made the right move, Edith. Let's get them." In prison, Buzzcut and Vance rotted, respect gone. A year later, the Harpers hosted a barbecue, not for VY Tory but for reclamation. Ethan held a sign. "This is our street, not theirs." The crowd roared. A neighbor's VY Deo went VY Ral, not for rage but for a boy who served VY Ved, a mother who fought, and a community that found its spine. In a quiet moment, Laura burned a letter from Buzzcut's mother, begging forgiveness. Forgiveness wasn't owed. Justice was. But Laura wasn't done. A misdelivered bank statement, found in the garage, led to HOA Treasurer Alan Shaw, a retiree with a sweet smile and a secret. A wire transfer to a Delaware LLC Unity Solutions tied to enforcement guidance. Laura dug deeper, uncovering a network of 10 HOAs, a private Discord, and a manual. Wear the badge with confidence. No one questions it. In federal court, Laura faced Ellen, now clutching her purse, not pearls. Photos, emails, Ethan's bruises flashed on a projector. Judge Miriam Tate leaned forward. "When you dress VY Olinson paperwork and call it community, expect the community to bite back." Ellen got 12 years, Unity Solutions collapsed, and the RICO ruling shook suburbia. HOAs rewrote charters, some vanished. Ethan's name echoed in Senate debates. Back home, Laura stared into the fireplace, the ashes of that letter gone. She wasn't just a mother or a lawyer, she was the law, and she fought harder than anyone expected.